I've given you a lot of ways to make scheduling and self-care a priority today, but what does that look like in real life? I want to turn to my good friend, fellow online entrepreneur and mom of 5, Audrey McClelland, to walk us through some practical tips for how to put this to use every day. Audrey, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk with you.
I'm always excited to talk with you. You are one of those people that I look at and think, how does she do everything she does? And not just do it, but do it well. So can you talk, just kind of give us the big picture? Because whether or not people have kids, this is one of those times where schedules shift, right? Things shift. How can we help make that shift, from this kind of summer to back to school season, and do it well and not feel like we're frazzled?
Yeah, it's funny. I always consider this my new year. I mean, I know that typically it's January 1st, but this is always the beginning of my new year, especially because I do have 5 kids, and for me it is that back to school rush.
Yeah.
For me especially too, what I always do every single September 1st, and I start right now, is really start to go into that headset of I need to start getting myself like a calendar intact. So many times throughout the summer, the calendars are just thrown out the window because, we're here, we're there, we're everywhere. But, it's to set just a solid routine, not only for myself, but for my family. And, and I say this not only just for people with children, but, before I had kids, every September, I would go into that mindset of needing to get myself into just a practical and, to be honest with you, I knew a schedule and routine that I could keep. I didn't want to make anything too grand, too lofty. Right. It needed to be practical and really digestible for myself.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point too, because you do have not only 5 kids' schedules, you're a wife, you're a mom, you do a lot in terms of being an online entrepreneur and author, and you do them well. I know we've talked about the word balance is almost a misnomer, right? You can't equally prioritize everything. So what tips do you have for giving kind of that intense energy where it needs to happen at different parts of the day?
I had a really great friend a couple years ago, Heather, say, you know what, Audrey, you keep saying the word balance. She goes, you really should be using the word blend. And when I made that shift from truly like the balance to blending, and it's blending those worlds of family and work, and also for myself, prioritizing that self-care piece of it. And that's when really for me, it clicked. It wasn't so much about trying to balance, all the plates, everything in the air. It was trying to blend them together as best as I could. And I always joke with people, I know you probably heard me say this before, there are some days I'm a great mom, there are some days I'm a great wife, there are some days I'm a great businesswoman, and on the days that that happens for all 3 of them, I'm like a unicorn.
Right.
It doesn't always happen, and I feel like, to your point, being honest and real about that is one of the most important things that we can do, not only as women, but just as people in general.
Absolutely. And so how do you make your kids a part of the solution rather than, I don't want to ever say the problem, but how do you incorporate them into everything you were just talking about?
I try my very best to make sure that I have help at home. I have 4 kids who are teenagers, and even before they were teenagers, I know it sounds really basic, Sammy, but I have a chore chart. Everybody has a dishwasher day. Everybody has a laundry day. I always say, it's all hands on deck, that this ship is not going to sail if everybody in the ship, as in our house, really helps out and does what they need to do. Even, kids as little as 2, 3, and 4, giving them even little jobs just to help you out, match the socks, just tiny little things that just alleviate things off of your list really does go a long way.
Yeah. Is there any one thing that you feel like sets you up for success before we go, or one thing that can derail it? Like what's one hindsight is 2020 moment that you would share?
For me, it's just giving myself grace. I've put a lot of pressure on myself. And I think if we as individuals just can give ourselves grace, because you know what, you're not always going to get that to-do list down. You're not always going to hit everything that needs to get done. And you have to be okay with that. And just know that you're not alone. Millions of people are going through that same exact worry and stress and feeling overwhelmed.
That's so good. I love that. I love you. Before I let you go, you have another project you have just launched. I don't know how you do it, but can you share? Look at that, a book trilogy, not just one, folks, but 3.
Right. So, we're all looking for self-care. And for me, I know, Sammy, we've known each other for over a decade. I love I love love. I love romance. I love happily ever afters. And this has been my self-care over the last 18 months. I've actually put like creative writing back into practice. And I think it's an important thing that we all need to do for ourselves is what does drive that happiness or that passion? Is it yoga? Is it working out? Is it writing? Whatever it is, you know, bring that back in.
Absolutely. I'm so proud of you. You can find her book trilogy. You can find her at Audrey McClelland on Instagram, momgenerations.com. Audrey, I can't wait to see you in person soon.
Love you, Sammy.
Love you too. Bye, friend.